You're in the rant hole where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons ask me to rant about. Today's rant comes at the behest of what looks like, in my terrible handwriting, Luke Ranmayasha, or maybe Luna Ranmayasha, who wants me to rant about the success of the new Dragon Ball Super Brolly film and what that could mean for the future of films getting released stateside. I haven't seen the Brolly film, so I can't offer any actual feelings on it. I haven't seen any of the Brolly films, actually. I've seen, like, the first 5 Dragon Ball Z movies from way back when I was a kid. I'm not a gigantic Dragon Ball guy, to be completely honest, but, when a major feature gets a whole lot of attention, it's kind of exciting. Do I think it will affect anime films in general? Not at all. The only reason it's so successful is that it's Dragon Ball, and particularly that it's Brolly, who Brolly has always been a super popular character. He only appears in the films, so, like, it's been quite a long time since Brolly has been in a film, and Dragon Ball is kind of a hype machine that keeps building on itself, because in the West, most of the people who are familiar with it are people who grew up with it on TV in the 90s, and those people are now old enough that they can pay to go see a movie. And since we're living in a nerd culture infused world where people are not embarrassed to like anime in America anymore, particularly something like Dragon Ball that basically everybody in my generation has seen, that kind of stuff is more acceptable. It's easier to get into theaters. Now, there is a lot more anime coming out in theaters in general, thanks to stuff like G-Kids and Fathom events, where they keep bringing stuff to at least limited release in the States, and, however limited it might be, a lot more of that shit has been encroaching its way to smaller and smaller theaters. I was able to watch the Sword Art Online movie in a theater back in Virginia Beach, which didn't typically get anime films, because it was Sword Art Online. It was enough of a big deal that they rolled the dice on something a little bit wider of a release. But, like, even stuff like I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, or Liz and the Blue Bird, or fucking, all these Miyazakis that have been getting screened by G-Kids, which were obviously successful because they kept doing it, it's just, I think more people are... I think that just anime fandom is a little bit older and a little bit better connected, and so it's easier for these, like, 1 or 2 day showings to get some kind of audience, because if you're on Annie Twitter, you're gonna see that shit. You're gonna see somebody who's tweeting about that this film is coming out, who's going to, tweet their reactions to the events, and that social media presence allows them to keep promoting more of these events and take a risk on at least doing some release, and they charge out the fucking ass for the tickets to these things. It's usually like $15, so they're definitely recouping whatever cost it is to bring these movies over, subtitle them, and throw them into theaters for a little while. And I think that's a big part of why anime films are sort of having a resurgence, because TV anime, it's really hard to make a profit off of it. There was a time in the 2000s where shows made a profit because they would sell Blu-rays and DVDs, and while that's still possible, in Japan, more and more shit is being streamed, more and more shit is being pirated. Most TV shows seem to have diminishing visual quality. It seems like there are fewer and fewer shows that are willing to try and, like, to bank on the idea that they're going to sell a bunch of Blu-rays, when that's just not the popular format of the moment. They would much rather, if they're going to put all that effort into something, make sure there's a return on investment. And the best way to do that is with a feature film, because ticket prices are pretty high. Usually there's not an easy way to pirate them. Usually these films, until they come out on Blu-ray, and in Japan, they wait a fucking while. They wait like 6 to 8 months before a theater film comes out on Blu-ray. You will not see that shit just the next season like you will with certain Hollywood films. So, they keep that shit exclusive for as long as possible, and because people know that, they will pay to go see it. And, if they have the higher quality production and the bigger name directors attached to it, then people who know anything will be more inclined to go and, spend money to see that event piece. And, I think that's totally understandable. Personally, I don't know how I feel about it, because I'm more of a series guy than a movie guy. There's not a lot of movies that I, particularly would put above like most of my favorite shows. I just like long form media, and I wish there was more TV shows being made at a higher quality level. Thankfully, a lot of the Netflix co-productions seem to be trying for something a little bit higher quality, I guess because they think that the West will care more about higher quality. I think they're wrong to think that. I don't know why the anime industry believes that the West gives a single fuck about animation quality when they, by and large, do not at all, but they've convinced themselves that the West just likes action. Just anything you could put on Toonami. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be broadly accessible. And the main people who like anime in the West are either teenagers or man-children who want to watch people with superpowers beat the shit out of each other. So, like, that's what you need. That's it. So, yeah. Nonetheless, I do think movies are, at least for a little while, going to have this resurgence. There's going to be, a lot of directors who are turning their gaze that way because they can make a higher quality product that will make more return on investment, and who doesn't want to make a higher quality product if they can? Yeah, so will Brolly affect that in any meaningful way? I really doubt it. I mean, maybe a My Hero Academia movie might see a broader theater release, or like, anything tied to a major shonen franchise. Maybe the next One Piece movie or something, or, stuff like that I could see Brawly affecting, but I really don't think that the success of a Dragon Ball movie has much trickle down to the rest of hardcore anime. Anyway, that's that rant.